What is up, everybody? This is episode 129 of Catfish on Ice with Chad Minton and Rich Howe. How are you doing tonight, Rich? We are back for another episode.
It feels like it's been forever. And I'm like, preseason starts in like a week, right? Has it been that long? Is that what
It hasn't
like
been
we
that
got
long.
preseason games coming up? Anything? Nothing? Ugh.
No, but
Bummer.
we are watching the playoffs. We are watching the
watching
Stanley
the
Cup playoffs. They're very exciting.
Yes, they are. I will give you that. Very exciting.
We
Lots
took a
of-
little bit of a
lots of
break.
fun.
We took a little bit of a break. We had to calm down a little bit after watching the Preds get swept. Yeah, we all needed a little bit of time from that, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean that was rough to watch, but our last episode of Catfish on Ice, we were watching live the Preds get swept.
Yeah,
So
and we had been going.
This
so
is
how many-
literally our first episode back. Since
It
then.
is. Yeah, and we had done, let's see, not the game before. That's the one you went to. But the game before that was we watched that whole thing as well. And we're up till 1:30 in the morning. And then the very last game, we were up late and we were just kind of like, bummer.
Yeah, it was a rough stretch there for
A
the
little bit.
Catfish on Ice podcast and also the Nashville Predators franchise, might I add, because we did 2 live episodes of the Preds playoffs games, and they
Absolutely.
both ended very badly. But it's okay because we're back for you. Episode 129, presented by DraftKings, and also part of the Hockey Podcast Network with Chad Minton and Rich Howe. We are going to hit the top storylines of the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs as they are over. The second round is starting tonight, Rich. And we
Playing
got
right
the
now.
Battle for Florida. Florida Panthers versus the Tampa Bay Lightning. I know you're not happy about it, but Rich, I tried to tell you that the Tampa Bay Lightning would beat the Toronto Maple Leafs. You wouldn't believe me.
I think I just didn't want to believe it. But, that's just how it is. What are you going to do?
And do we need to look back at the predictions? Did I say Tampa in 7? I want to say I did.
I said Leafs in 7, I believe.
We
Hey,
were very
guess
close.
Lindsay, our friend Lindsay is here. She says she's stressed. I'm sure she is. She asked, how are we doing? We are great.
We're doing good. We're doing
She said,
good,
missed
Lindsay.
you
Thank you for
guys.
asking.
We missed you too. And
We
then
missed you,
have
Lindsay. We love
Justin is here. Justin has jumped in. Hello, Justin. Our friend Justin is here, which is awesome. We appreciate that. You all getting in
So
here.
before we get into the episode 129, the first episode of the offseason. Yeah,
It's crazy.
not fun to say that, but it is the first episode of the offseason. And first I got to say, we got some new shirts out. I'm wearing one. We're going to make
awesome.
more later in this offseason. We're going to make a bunch of them. We just got to wait for demand. But bang
That's it.
T-shirts right there. See them?
So awesome.
Yeah.
Looks so cool.
So our awesome listeners, including Lindsay and Justin, who just chimed in on the chat on YouTube and Twitter, they came up with this awesome thing where every time the Preds score during a live episode where we're following a game, they yell bang. And so I was like, that would be great on a t-shirt, like a bang t-shirt. And so we came up with it. So here it is right here. I'm wearing one of them.
So
we got a few left. We're going to do some giveaways later this week. So stay tuned for that. I will make sure that all of our listeners that have been following this show since the start of it will get one.
Yep.
We will make sure of that. But
We're
going to make as many. We're going to go by demand.
Yep. We're also going to have another giveaway soon. I have a really cool hat that we can give away. It's pretty neat. It's brand new.
Yeah.
Brand new Preds hat. It's pretty cool. So
there you go. We got some Catfish on Ice podcast hats as well that we can make more of if people want them. There's some nice hats. Kyle Perkins is going to be joining us very, very soon. Later in this episode, Kyle Perkins was showing off his hat. Kyle Perkins also contributes to Renegades of Puck, which is another great local podcast that covers the Preds. So, Justin Gambino says bang. Lindsay says bang. And we have bang t-shirts. So there you go.
That's right.
Yeah. So,
sure.
episode 129, everybody. This is what we're getting into.
Crazy.
We have to talk about, when it comes to the Preds, we are going to take an early look at the free agents for this offseason, the 2022 free agents. And we are going to talk about players that, I know this sounds negative, but we had to do it. Players that shouldn't be back next season. Say your goodbyes. Say your goodbyes. Say, hey, it was nice knowing you. Thank you for your contributions. Thank you for being a part of the team. We wish you well, but we don't
let
want
the door
you
hit
back.
you. Don't let the door hit you on the way out.
I wouldn't throw that in there. That seems kind of mean, Rich.
That is mean.
That seems kind of rude.
I'm just kidding.
Right, but don't let the door hit you on the way out. Yeah, as Rich just said. But seriously, we are going to look over these players. There's a lot of role players, and then of course the elephant in the room is Philip Forsberg. He's not going to be included in that. We want him back. We want Philip Forsberg back.
Yeah. I guess that'll get figured out soon. What is it? They have till July, right? Is that out? Something like that. Yeah.
That's going to sneak up on us.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, all that's happened since the Preds got eliminated, I'm sorry, but if you get on Preds social media, all you see is like pitchforks when it comes to David Poile and John Hines.
Mm-hmm. Pitchforks, fire, whole 9 yards.
Yes.
The
and I got to say,
angry.
I got to say that I'm not holding the pitchfork necessarily, but I understand their anger. I do. I really do.
You're one of the villagers in the back just pointing, going, yeah. You're not up front with the pitchforks and the flames. You're just kind of egging them on.
Well, I get it, though. I get their anger because
I get it, too.
I mean, you're talking about the same general manager that's ever been a general manager of this franchise.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're talking about a coach who's never, all due respect to John Hines, he has never accomplished anything in this league as a head coach.
Not yet.
And you see accomplished head coaches get fired for way less in this league. Am I not wrong, Rich?
You are not. One just
got
fired
saw
the other day.
Pete DeBoer just got fired today.
Yep. First year that the Vegas Golden Knights haven't made the playoffs, and they kicked him to the curb. So,
and you're never I mean, I'm never going to be in the business to tell someone to lose their job. And I mean, they're all working hard here. They're all good people. But at some point, the Preds franchise is going to have to decide that they either A, want to be a Stanley Cup contender, or B, they're just going to be a middle-of-the-road team that makes the playoffs every year. Yay, we get a couple home games on Lower Broadway. That's great. Yay, let's all have a party. But it's totally fair for all these fans to want more. It's totally fair.
It is. Unfortunately, I don't. It's so weird. Like, you really have to put in the work to put together a Stanley Cup contending team. It takes years. The Predators do not and have not done that work to put together a Stanley Cup contending team. And to do that work, you have to go through some rough spells. And unfortunately, I don't think the fan base would be willing to go through the rough spells to put it together a team, unfortunately. So the Predators, unfortunately, are in the middle of the road, exactly like you said. And until they start making some kind of changes, I think that's just where they're going to be. Not good enough to contend, not bad enough to get picks.
So we will get into the David Poyle, John Hines debate that's really heated up. Chris Mason, our very awesome analyst, former goaltender of this franchise, he got mixed in with the unnamed local radio host that a lot of people don't like. But yeah, is it fair? Is it foul to be asking for more? And there's a split debate on this, like for real. There's a lot of people who want John Hines fired. There's a lot of people that want David Poyle fired, but there's people in the other camp that think, no, let's just like move forward. I'll tell you my side right now. I followed this team since year 2. I will tell you, year 1, I didn't know a lot about hockey and I didn't follow the team. But I was living in Nashville. I'm a Nashville native. And I can tell you that I've been following the team since Paul Correa came on this team for sure. And I can tell you that it is totally valid for fans to be upset right now and to want a change. And I hate to say it, but if David Poyle goes, John Hines goes with him. That's just how it has to go. I'm sorry. But we will save that for later. We will also have Kyle Perkins in on that debate. And we are going to look back also at our first round predictions and see how we did, Rich.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I have to look
first.
I don't even remember what I said.
Before Kyle joins us here in a little bit, let's really, now that we've cooled off a little bit, let's think more about the Preds getting swept and how we feel about it. I'll talk first, and then we'll go to Rich. Here, the dust has settled a little bit, and I'm really thinking about it, and I'm like, all right, they got swept. They probably ran against one of the best teams in the league. That's debatable, though, because there's a lot of good teams in the Eastern Conference right now. So that's very debatable.
Yes. But
I watched that Dallas-Calgary series, Rich. I watched it, and I'm thinking, how would the Preds have performed if they were playing against either the Stars or the Flames? Let me ask you that, Rich. What do you think about that? Just hypothetically speaking.
I think they would have maybe won a game or two, but I think the result would have been the same. With the goaltending, having the issues with that, Connor Ingram came in and did an excellent job for what he had to do, but I just don't. Without the guy, I'm confusing myself here. So without the stars stepping up, there was Matt Duchene obviously did. Forsberg had 1 goal. I think the last time we talked, Brian Johansson wound up with like 2 shots for the entire series. Roman Josi, I don't want to say he wasn't there, but he wasn't there as much as he should have been. When those guys have not good games, there's nobody behind them to step up to fill the void except for Yakov Trenin, apparently. So I just don't think they're rounded enough and they don't have deep enough scoring to make any kind of playoff push. And I think they would have eventually lost to whoever. But unfortunately, they ran up against the buzzsaw that is Colorado. So,
yeah. See, here's my thing. Everyone wants to say, oh, well, if they want to point to the Arizona game because they blew that lead, right? They were up 4-0 in the season finale. Mm-hmm. If they just get a point in that last game of the regular season, then they're playing Calgary in the first round. But do we really think that they would have beat Calgary in the first round?
I mean, no, I don't. Unfortunately, I don't. I just don't think it's going to be possible. Dallas played well.
They wouldn't have gotten swept. They wouldn't have been swept.
They wouldn't.
Maybe.
I will give you that. Maybe. Yeah, you're right. Maybe.
Yeah, they wouldn't have been swept. They probably would have taken 2 games against Calgary, I think. They would have
I
lost
think
in 6. We would still be sitting here with the same results, the same old thing, and it's getting old. I'm sorry, it's getting old. It really is. Like it's very for me. It's a tired It's a participation trophy right now. At this point, it's literally like, okay, congratulations, pat on the back. You made the playoffs. Should we be happy about that? No, we should not. I'm sorry. This franchise has been around for too long. They've done too much. You've seen too many great players come in and out of this organization. There's still some outstanding elite players on this team, one of which you might lose. And yet we're supposed to be satisfied. And I love Chris Mason. And he knows way more than me about hockey, obviously.
Right.
But I don't agree. He also works for the team.
He does.
He can't say everything he wants to say.
Absolutely not.
He can't.
He can't.
The politics of it does come into play here.
He does.
And I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Rich.
No,
you go ahead, Rich.
I was just going to say real quick about that. He can't say anything, and it's not fair for the fans to get upset at him because he can't say anything.
Well,
it's
that's
not
true
fair.
too.
It's
I agree with that.
You cannot hold that against that dude. That is his job. If you went into your job tomorrow and you're like, this place sucks and I hate whatever, they need to do this, they would let you go. And that is exactly what would happen to him.
Well, I agree with that.
I'm sorry.
No,
I don't
Rich,
agree.
I do agree with you.
I don't agree with everything he says, obviously, but I do know that he can't just rail on him like he wants to. I'm sure.
No, and I agree with that too, Rich. I do. What you're saying is absolutely true. Yep. And I don't think Chris Mason. So he got he's been interacting with a lot of people on social media. He went on the Jared Stillman show, the afternoon show with Caroline Fenton. It's called what's it called? Stillman and Company or something like that. It should be Caroline Fenton and Company.
That's what I was going to say.
Either way,
Caroline is a saint.
Yeah, so Caroline Fenton has been on our show before, and she's amazing. And but he came on that show, and you can go back and look at the social media mentions. But the point of the matter is that Chris Mason is one of the smartest people out there, and we are so lucky to have him. When he breaks down a game, you really get smarter. But at the same time, he can't say everything he probably wants to say about this past season.
Nope.
But guess what? We're not affiliated with the team.
Nope.
So we can say what we want to say. So I'm going to say what I want to say about the team.
Absolutely.
I'm going to tell you that right now. And I can tell you right now that average should not be acceptable because I was not raised that way. I can promise you that right now. I was not raised to be average. And no one should be acceptable with that. No one should be satisfied with average. And that's what the Predators are. I'm sorry. That's what the Predators are. They are painfully average. They are very okay, they're not the Arizona Coyotes. Okay. Nope. They keep pushing off this rebuild. Like they don't want to do it. They're toting that line. And that's the problem with David Poile. I'm sorry. He's a great general manager, one of the best ever. Obviously, he's the most winningest general manager of all time. And he's done a lot of good things. I could point out plenty of great things he's done for this franchise. But at some point, it is totally fair to ask for a fresh vision, to ask for something new.
It is. I agree 100%. Like I was saying earlier, it takes a long time to build a contender. I was watching the last first round game, the Tampa Bay and Maple Leafs. I was talking to my wife, and I was like, they started building when Tampa Bay started building the team that won the first Stanley Cup a few years ago. They started back in 2013 to put the pieces together to make that team. And they've moved people in and out. They moved, Yanni Gourde in and out, a few other guys. That one guy went to the Rangers. can't remember what his name is. Anyway, they keep their core in place. They've been doing it for years, and that's what it takes. And the Predators just they're not there, and there's not anything on the horizon that makes me feel that they're going to move in that direction, or that they're close to getting to the point to where they could contend a little more. It's not there.
To point to that, it's all about their prospects and the players were waiting to grow, like Philip Tomasino and the players that haven't even touched the NHL ice yet, players that haven't even logged an NHL minute yet.
Yep.
So we're still thinking about those players. But circling back a little bit to what you said about the Tampa Bay Lightning and rebuilding and all that and going through things, all you got to look at is the team that just swept you. And I really looked back on it, and it blew my mind. So all you got to do is go back and look at the Colorado Avalanche in 2014.
Yep.
Look at them in that season, and look at all the changes that organization went through. Yep. They brought on Joe Sakic as their general manager.
Yep.
NHL Hall of Famer as a player. They bring him in. They get Jared Bednar as their head coach after that. And then they had one season where they didn't make the playoffs.
Yep.
And then they played the Preds in the first round in 2018. Was that 2018? Yeah, 2018. Yep. And the Preds beat them in 6 games. That was the President's Trophy year for the Preds.
Yep.
The Preds beat them in 6 games, but I'm sorry. Everyone knew that. I knew at the time that the Avalanche were coming, that they were for real. And the Preds had to do everything they could to get out of that first round series. And they were heavy favorites.
Yep.
And then they lost. And then the Preds lost in 7 games the next round to the Winnipeg Jets. We know how that ended. And then the rest is history. Yep. Then you lose the next season to the Dallas Stars in the first round. Then you lose in the Stanley Cup qualifiers to the Coyotes. Yeah, we can go on and on about the first round failures. But I'm telling you, the Avalanche, look at how they built their team. Look at how they drafted, how they held on to their superstars. And that's your blueprint, but it takes time. It takes time. It takes patience. And the Preds just want to keep kicking the can down the road. That's what they want to do.
Yep. That's what I was going to say. You look at what you just said. 2014, that was 8 years ago. 8 years ago, they started building this team, the Colorado Avalanche, and look where they are now. I mean, that's what you have to do. And I just don't think the blueprint is there to make it happen. They didn't start 6 years ago. The Predators sure didn't. They kept all these guys together thinking they were going to make some kind of miraculous run to the Stanley Cup again. And they needed to start really in 2018 would have been a good starting point, or even 2019. I would give them that. That would have been a good year to start. But it doesn't look like any of that's ever going to happen now.
So how's everyone going to feel if next season the Preds make the playoffs again somehow? And then 9 straight playoff appearances. Oh, congratulations. You made 9 in a row.
Yeah.
And then you lose in the first round again. I mean, when does this end? And that's kind of where I'm at with it is, okay, unless you just don't have any higher expectations for this franchise and you're just one of those fans where you're just happy to see like the team make it. And I really hope that that's not how this front office feels, because if that's how they feel, then we're really doomed. I'm telling you right now, your goal should be to win a Stanley Cup, especially in that position. And they're not doing it right now. They're really not. Like, I know everyone thought, oh, let's just make the playoffs. And everyone wants to always think about 2017. And as magical as 2017 was, and I was in it. I was downtown hugging people on the sidewalks that I didn't know when we went to the Cup. The night we beat the Ducks and we clinched and we were going to the Stanley Cup final, we didn't even know who our opponent was going to be yet.
Yeah.
we were hugging people, like
Yeah,
hugging
for
random
sure.
people. And I can tell you that that's a mirage at this point because that team was not a Stanley Cup team necessarily. They almost
Yep.
won. They went on a hot streak.
Mhm.
But now you look back on it, if 2017 never happens, what would our expectations be different right now as a fan base?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of like you said, they did get hot at the right time, but it was kind of like it's like fool's gold, you know? It's like
Fool's gold, yes.
they did do that, but were they good enough to carry that into the next season? You know, they kept all those guys together to try to get that done, and you know, obviously they were not
Well,
good
next
enough.
season they won the President's Trophy. They were a
They
good
did.
regular
That was
season
that's
team.
true. That's true.
And they did go to the second round and whatnot, but
Yep.
that's kind of where it breaks apart is right there. So
Yep. Lindsay
yeah,
had a
so
good point real quick. Let me put this up here. Will they ever go into a rebuild with Saros? And then Justin mentioned Roman Yossi as well. Yeah, that's another issue. Do you want to rebuild and waste 3 years
well,
of
here's the deal. So I don't
Saros?
think it has to be so black and white. I think that
Right.
they can go through a rebuild, but also still
Be competitive.
maximize their potential. Like I'm not saying a full teardown.
Yeah.
They've already got a good young nucleus of players that can be good. My point is that they have to break away from their whole style, their whole philosophy as a front office. And that might take a rebuild because
Yep.
if you break away from Poyle, which is what so many people are asking for right now,
Mhm.
you think that new GM is going to walk in and just pick up where Poyle left off? No. That new
No.
general manager is going to walk in and want to do things the way he wants to do. He or
Yep.
she
Put his
wants to
mark.
do.
Absolutely.
They're going to want to do what they want to do.
Absolutely. As will a coach who would be coming in as well. Speaking
So
of,
if you really want David Poyle out at this point, then you better be ready for a rebuild because that new general manager is going to come in and they're gonna shake some things up.
yeah, because that's kind of what needs to happen.
Well,
For sure.
And that might mean that next season is going to be a rough season. It might
Rougher,
take some time. Yeah. You might have to take 5 steps back to take 10 steps forward, whatever you want to call it. Like that's what it's going to take.
Yep. Here and speaking of rebuild, here's our friend Kyle. Looks like he has got the right idea with his logo behind him there. Bring up some of those guys to help out.
They've been looking pretty decent.
What's up, Kyle?
How are you, fellas?
Hey, come bring the Admirals to save us, Kyle.
Yes.
They got a tough series coming up themselves, so it's going to be interesting.
But at least
so Kyle, were you listening a little bit to our conversation before you came on? We were talking about the whole argument with Poyle and Hines, and we all know about this past couple weeks and how the fan base is basically turned on the whole front office and Hines as well. And I want to get your thoughts on it, man, because honestly, I don't think some of these fans understand what a front office change really means for this franchise. If you break away from David Poyle, then for better or worse, I'm not saying it's the wrong decision. I understand their frustration. I do. But if you do that, that new general manager is going to come in and they're going to want to do their own way. And they're not afraid of a new general manager is not going to be afraid of sucking for a couple years because they're new. Mm-hmm. So you better be ready for it. So what do you think about that, Kyle?
I think it would probably be a good thing. But then again, you look at it, you got a new guy coming in. He has no loyalty to any of the players. So you're probably going to lose some of your favorite players. You're probably going to lose a lot of games, but then again, you could win a lot of games in a couple of years as well. So it's a hard thing to choose on that one.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah.
I do think Pull has probably ran his course though, and I I don't want to get into that and ramble on about that, but I,
Well, I mean, he's been the only general manager for this team since they've existed. So I don't think anyone's unfair for saying that. Like, some people are getting all defensive, saying, acting like the guy's only been general manager for like 5 years or something. Like, the dude's been here for a long time, and
Yeah.
yes, he has accomplished a lot.
Mhm.
No one is saying he's not, but you can say both things can be true. You can say David Poyle is a successful, great general manager, one of the best of all time, but also say it's time to move on from him. Both of those things can exist with each other. It doesn't have to be one or the other. And that's where I'm at with it. And so I do think this franchise needs a new vision. And I do think that they need a new person in there, just like any business that has a general manager, whether it's a restaurant or anything. Sometimes you need a new vision and a new leader. And
Yep.
so that's where I feel like the Preds are with this. And we'll see what happens. I don't think it's going to happen. I think that David Poyle will be back next year. I think John Hines will be back, and it's going to be the status quo. Keep the status quo.
There was
most likely.
Yeah, they announced that they're gonna Poyle and Hines are gonna have media availability on Thursday, and Adam Vingen tweeted out that this means that both of them will be back pretty much, since it's a joint press conference. They like neither of them would be announced that the other is leaving or anything. So that's probably what it's going to be. Real quick though, like if they do get rid of Poyle, you know that it's going to be like his son probably stepping in, and I don't know if that's enough of a vision shakeup. It's kind of like
That's true.
hopefully, you know, he's being groomed for the job, but if he does get the job, that he would be like, okay, my dad's put his name on this team. Now I'm going to put my name on this team. Maybe, who knows? Hopefully that would be the case, but hopefully it wouldn't go into more of the same. So, because that's probably
Well, that's a good point. And I mean, like, again, David Poyle's done a lot of good things for this team, and he's made a lot of really good moves. Obviously, he built this team from an expansion team, and this team has made the playoffs way more often than they have not. He's made a lot of really good signings. He's really been particularly really good in his drafting. If you go back and look at some of the great draft picks that this franchise has made, they ended up being big-time franchise players. David Poyle did good in that job.
Mm-hmm.
David Poyle, in my opinion, has not done a great job in recent memory in his free agency signings and his big-time signings. I know that Matt Duchene had a really great year this past year, but that's one season. We need to see more. Ryan Johansson has been, pretty good, but he's also had his moments where he's not lived up to a top 6 center. And that was the trade for Seth Jones. Like, I'm just saying, like, you can go back and look at it and think, okay, there's been some questionable decisions. So
Absolutely.
We'll have to see what happens.
I think so too. My thing is, he went so hard and everything to win that cup back in 17 and 18 and 19. He sold off everything, all the assets. He's made all these trades, everything else, and it all burned him. Every move that he made during that era, besides, I would say, PK Subban. The Subban trade worked out pretty dang well. Both trading for and trading him away. I think both of those, that was executed pretty smoothly. But the tourist trade, all the other trades that were made in that time, he got burnt so bad, and I think he is scared to death of messing up that bad again. And since then, with his drafting, with his trades, everything has been so safe. Everything has been so low risk. You look at the draft picks, he had the opportunity to draft Aturati, who could be an amazing scorer, but there's that little bit of doubt, so he skips over him.
Mhm.
I love Fyodor Svechkov. He is one of the most low risk guys to be taken in that first round. Zachary LaRue was one of the most low risk guys because you already knew this is what this guy is.
Mhm.
They don't need to develop that much more. This is what this guy's going to be. So I think I think he's gun shy to the point of harming the franchise.
Yep. You're right, because they make the playoffs, and that's what's going to happen if they don't make the playoffs. Everybody's going to be mad, but now people are mad because they only make the first round. So he's kind of, I think what you said.
Well,
is exactly
I will
right.
say I don't think David Poyle thinks. I mean, he probably thinks about the fans, but I also think that he's been around long enough to where that's not. I do think that David Poyle is a smart enough general manager where he's not worried about the fans so much,
That's true.
and he is trying to build a team. I just don't know if his style and his philosophies work in today's NHL. That has changed a lot since he's been around. David Poyle has been around for a long time, to his credit, because he is such a great GM, and he has been one of the best GMs of all time. No one is taking that away from him. My criticism of David Poyle right now has nothing to do with everything he's achieved in this league.
Yep.
It's about 2022. Where do we sit right now? And sometimes it is time to bow out. Now, like I said, for all those fans that want to see that happen, just understand that likely means that the Preds will go through a rebuild in some sort. Unless you get some type of magician that comes in here and just somehow fits some things together and everything works out perfectly, which is not highly probable. And you're going to go through a massive switch over here. And it's probably going to mean that this team misses the playoffs a couple seasons in a row, which this fan base is not used to.
Not used to. Yeah. And
be careful. Be careful what you wish for, Smashville.
Absolutely. Because we've talked about this before, and it's kind of funny. Everybody before, when they got rid of Ryan Ellis and Victor Arvidsson, everybody was like, this team needs to change. They need to do this. So David Poyle made some changes, and everybody's like, why did you get rid of Ellis and Arvidsson? That's not the changes that I meant. And it's like, he just can't, there's
no pleasing some people.
Yeah. So it's like,
well, there's no pleasing some people. Yeah. I was all on board with that. I was on board with,
me too.
I hope you're not directing that at me, Rich.
No. I was on board with
I'm just kidding you.
No,
I mean, it was tough. It was tough to see Ryan Ellis go. I mean, that was I actually respected Poyle for making those tough decisions.
I did too, because
it really has nothing to do with what Poyle can or cannot do. It's a matter of he's been the only general manager for this team, and we're still not seeing the results we want to see. I mean, what other jobs can you work? I'm just going to leave it at this. What other job can you work in your life where you show no progress for that long?
President of the United States? Senator?
Oh, we're not. We're all right. Let's leave politics out of this, Rich. But that's so true. That's so true. I'll leave it at that. But
this is a good question we can answer real quick for Lindsay, since we're on the topic. Who are the options for general manager if they go that direction? Well, there's really only one option, and that would be David Poyle's son at the moment. So that's who is kind of being slated, groomed to take over that job.
Wait, I was raising his hand. Kyle, who you got?
Scott Nickel.
Oh, okay.
General manager.
He played for this team.
So he's already in a management role. He is the assistant general manager. He's another good choice if they want to stay in house.
Yep, I would be.
And that's likely what will happen if for some whenever that does happen. they're going to keep it in house most likely.
Yeah.
That's just one of those things where, I mean, we can't really. It's really hard to speculate on who would be the new general manager. That's all stuff so kept in house, and the ownership group, and it's multiple owners that own the Preds. And I mean,
Nobody
we
knows who
can't
they
really.
are.
It's really hard to know. But the whole point of the argument is whoever it is, maybe a fresh vision, a new vision because the NHL has changed so much since David Poile originally became a general manager in this league.
That's true.
And so that's really what it comes down to. It's not a knock on David Poile. It's just the facts. You know, like things change. Things change. You go off track record. You go off of a team in the Preds who have made the playoffs plenty of times, but if you take out that 2017 Stanley Cup run, this team is overwhelmingly failed in the playoffs. And you cannot keep using, oh, well, we've only been a team since 1998. No.
Not anymore.
Check that at the door. Like, I'm done hearing that. That argument was only valid like 10 years ago. I don't want to hear that anymore.
Yeah.
So,
for sure.
I mean, like I said, unless you're just satisfied with making it and getting a participation trophy, I'm done hearing it. All the arguments about David Poile and wanting to move on from him are totally valid. Now, when it comes to John Hines, that's a more complex argument, in my opinion, because John Hines has been here way shorter amount of time, and he is the head coach. But he came in a very weird situation in January 2020. January 2020. He was the third. He's only the third head coach of this entire franchise. And I think that John Hines, a lot of his criticism is held against him for his resume before he became Preds head coach. Am I fair to say that?
You are, but it's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous argument, but yeah.
Everyone points to his days of being the New Jersey Devils head coach, right?
Gosh,
that horrible team. That team was terrible.
They were so bad.
But I will say that if David Poile goes, John Hines has to go too. Now, it looks like neither one of them are going anywhere. But my point is, okay, John Hines, he had his first real full season this past season. And the team overperformed. They made the playoffs. No one expected them to, including us. So I'm okay with John Hines sticking around. I'm not a firm believer that he's going to be the long-term answer at head coach. But what else are you going to do right now? You're going to fire him, and then who are you going to get? Like, I mean, you got Carl Taylor. Everyone wants Carl Taylor. I know, Kyle, I know you're high on Carl Taylor. I know a lot of people are because he's done so many great things for the Milwaukee Admirals. He's developed a lot of this talent that's actually for this team, this Preds team now.
Yep. People, Dan Hinote's another one. Everybody will mention him.
And everybody, I think Carl Taylor would be a great NHL head coach, but I don't believe he's a magic bullet either. I think some people are thinking of him as like he's just going to walk in this job and any job, and it's like, oh, they're automatically winners. It's like, no, probably not. I've had some really bad arguments with people over the last week over Hines.
I've seen a couple of those.
Yeah, and it's just all right. Most of the blame this year I would put 80% towards Poile and probably 20% towards Hines. Poile, the makeup of the roster, all that. That's a big hill to overcome for your coach. Now Hines, I'll give you that lineup decisions, playing Cunnin in the top six, playing Ben Harper as much as he did. Things like scratching Tolvanen, scratching Tomasino, stuff like that. That really irked me. But overall, as a coach, everybody's like, well, if Laviolette was still the coach, this wouldn't happen, this wouldn't happen. If Laviolette was still the coach, Matt Duchene might have stopped playing hockey by now.
Absolutely. Mikael Granlund, same way for him.
Yeah.
Granlund, yeah.
Philip Forsberg would not have scored 40 goals. Matt Duchene would not have scored 40 goals. The man took a team that was destined to compete with Arizona for a draft pick and made the playoffs with them. And everybody's like, well, you've got Saros was so good. Yossi was so good.
Yeah.
Duchene, Forsberg were so good. How many people are on a hockey team?
Exactly. More than what you just named.
5 or 6 people do not make up a hockey team. Ask the Edmonton Oilers for the last forever. Ask the Toronto Maple Leafs. If you've got 3 or 4 guys that are out of this world and everybody else on that team is not great, you're going to have not great results.
Absolutely.
I think it's fair to say that if the Preds don't overperform this past season, just hypothetically speaking here, let's say they perform exactly how everyone thought and they miss the playoffs, they're like a 6th place team maybe or whatever, then no one's up in arms. Maybe they're not talking about it that much, but gave us that hope and they overperformed and they made the playoffs. And you saw all these career seasons for Matt Duchene and Philip Forsberg. And UC Saros it was UC Saros' first full season without Pecorine as his mentor. And I think that got lost in the shuffle a little bit with all the craziness of this past season. I'm sorry, but people keep forgetting this was UC Saros' first full season without his mentor, without his big brother. And he completely, I wrote an article about it today and put it on Pred Lines about his Vezina nomination. I know he's not going to win it. He doesn't deserve to win it. Igor Shesterkin deserves to win it. But all I'm saying is the fact that he got a nomination and the fact that he's got first of many, and I do think he's got at least one Vezina trophy in his future. But my point is, it kind of got lost in the shuffle, the fact that this was UC Saros' first full season as the guy. We always knew he was going to be the guy. We saw it coming, but it actually happened this season. Pecorine, he retired. We thought maybe he would come back, and then he retired. He decided to retire. He rightfully decided to retire because Pecorine put in a lot of work, and he deserves a happy retirement. But this was his first full season, UC Saros, of not having Pecorine, his mentor, and he was the guy. He was the guy. And he started 67 games that led the NHL. And he was outside the top 20 among goaltenders, qualified goaltenders in goal support. Among qualified goaltenders that had enough starts, he was outside the top 20 in goal support. Igor Shesterkin, interestingly enough, Shesterkin was also right down there with Saros. Shesterkin didn't get a lot of goal support either from his New York Rangers. So that further solidifies Shesterkin's case for the Vezina. But my point is, Saros did not get a lot of goal support this year. So that also messes up his numbers a little bit. So you got to start building around Saros. You got to start building around your core. And that's what we want to see. We want to see more bona fide scoring players. And I think we have some of them. I think Philip Tomasino is going to evolve into a great scoring player. Give the kid time. This was his first full season. I thought he looked good this past season. But you got some guys coming through the prospect pool. Kyle, kind of get us caught up a little bit on what you're seeing on that note with the Milwaukee Admirals, who are in the playoffs and playing well. Get us caught up on what's going on with the Milwaukee Admirals in the playoffs.
So the Milwaukee Admirals, the first 2 rounds of the AHL playoffs this year are best of 5s. The Admirals beat the Manitoba Moose, who is the Winnipeg Jets affiliate, in their first round matchup, which went to 5 games. Milwaukee won the first 2 at home and then got absolutely decimated the second 2 games in Manitoba. Uh, the last game was also still in Manitoba, but Milwaukee came out and through the whole series, they had never outshot Manitoba in a period. They completely changed up their tactics, all this stuff, and they took it to them the last game and beat them on the road to move on to play Chicago, who, if you all will remember, was our shared affiliate with Carolina a couple of years ago. And
So weird.
basically, they are the Avalanche of the AHL.
Oh,
Oh,
So
great.
it's a difficult series coming. But if you look at their scoring in Milwaukee through these first few games, it's a familiar name to the Predators that is the number one overall scorer. That's Tommy Novak
Mm,
with 6 points in 5 games, 5 assists, 1 goal. He's been excellent, very good. Cody Glass, he missed a few games because of being up in Nashville. He comes in, he has a goal. Uh, one of my absolute favorite prospects, Juuso Parssinen, has came in for this series. Came over from HCTPS in Finland, um, and he's played all 5 games. And he's got 2 points. He's had his first American Pro point in his first game, and then in his, I want to say, the third game, he had his first North American goal. So
awesome.
he's played well. There's a couple of guys who are more AHL guys that have played extremely well there too. Jimmy Huntington, Braden Burke, both of those guys have had really crucial goals for the Admirals. Connor Ingram has came back down and played the last 2 games in net there. I have
how
to
do
talk
you?
of, huh?
How did Ingram look in the last 2 games for Admirals?
The first game was not as great, but the last game he looked really good.
Awesome.
He
Okay.
was back to his normal self. Connor's been excellent for that team over the year. If you look at it, you think about how much UC played over the course of the last season. And if you think it's bad and he's been overworked, do not look at Connor Ingram's stats over the last year, because he's been worked pretty hard down there in Milwaukee, and he's held up pretty good against it.
Yeah.
Speaking of goalies, you got to talk about Askarov. Yaroslav signed his entry level contract yesterday.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Good news.
Yeah, so he is signed through 24-25, which is an interesting conundrum because another goalie in this organization is signed through 24-25.
UC
So their
Soros.
contracts, yep. So their contracts will be up at the same time.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Well, hey, Kyle, let's worry about that when it comes. All right.
Yeah.
Chad's like, don't do this to me now. I'm still trying
Don't
to
do
not
this to
think
me
about
now. Yeah,
Forsberg.
I have too much to worry about. But yeah, that's a
They,
good point. I've already like honestly thought about that though. Like you can't help but think about that. Like you look at Saros's contract, and
for sure.
he signed for 3 more years after this year, and everyone wants Askarov to be the savior, but why can't Saros be the savior too? Like, I mean, we have to see how it all works out. 3 years is a lot of time to see what happens between both of these goaltenders. We'll figure out a lot. We'll figure out a lot of it when we see Askarov in the AHL, and we finally get to see him play in North America, which we're all ready to see. But I got to tell you, Saros gave me no reason to think that he's the problem in Nashville this past season.
No.
He had a couple bad. Yeah, and I know you're not saying that, Kyle, but
I want all the excellent goalies. Give me all the really good goalies you can have, and I'm gonna be a happy boy.
Yeah.
Well, that's always been the good problem to have for this Preds franchise.
Yeah. I like the goaltenders too. That's like my favorite position. I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
Goalie nerd.
Yeah, all the weird little quirks and the different equipment, and I'm
sure.
the same way. If you look at defense-wise in Milwaukee, Jeremy Davies, who I fully expect to be on the Preds next
Yeah.
year.
He'll be
There's
on the Preds next year.
Jeremy's 25, 26 years old. It's time to give him a shot on the big squad. He's got 4 assists through 5 games.
Give me a Jeremy Davies, Jeremy Lazon if they re-sign him. Give me a Jeremy Davies, Jeremy Lazon. So give me the 2 Jeremys on the third pairing. You're obviously going to keep Ekholm around. He's going to be around again. Fabro's, keep him around. I've gotten a lot of some questions from followers about Fabro and how I feel about him. Everyone knows about how I feel about Fabro. The dude was thrown into the fire so early in his career. He is still such a baby, and I don't mean baby in a bad way. I just mean he is such a young player by hockey terms. And so, I mean, it's like everyone is so impatient with Dante Fabro. They just think he should be the second coming of like Roman Josi. He's not that type of player, but his defense is so important, and he's going to keep getting better. So Fabro is a total future of this team as well.
It's funny. We have a Catfish on Ice Instagram account, and we follow the majority of the players. And Fabro put something on his Instagram. I think it was today. It said year 3 in the books. You got to think about that. He's only played, he's only like what, 22.
He was literally thrown into the fire playing alongside PK Subban his first year.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
PK Subban was his line mate. Subban was his line mate.
And then Poyle's like, oh, he did good. We can just get rid of PK Subban. He can fill his role. It'll be fine.
That's fine. But I'm saying, like, this organization is much like their goaltenders. This organization knows how to have an assembly line of really good defensemen. And I truly believe that Dante Fabro can still be one of those. We just have to be a little bit more patient with him and let it come to be. I think he's a tweener sometimes between second and third pairing, but he's still a part of this team next year. So we really shouldn't be that worried about the defense if Jeremy Davies can stay on his track. Do you agree with that, Kyle, about Jeremy Davies? Like, do you think that as long as he can stay on that track, maybe he can be alongside maybe Jeremy Lazon next year? I don't know what that means for Mark Borowiecki, but
not good news.
Make Boro just like the team ambassador or something. Sign him to a lifetime contract of being the team ambassador. I love Mark Borowiecki. I think he's awesome in that locker room. I think he's an awesome presence for these players. I'm worried about the guy with his issues with concussions and all the fights, all the hits to the head. God knows he's not scared of putting his face in front of a puck. But if strictly speaking about playing, I would expect to see Davies, Lazon, and Boro on a kind of rotating third pair. So
that's a safe bet.
That would probably mean Davies would be the one going back and forth.
Well, we're going to get to who we think's not coming back. So let's save that for our next segment here. This is episode 129 of Catfish on Ice with Chad Minton, Rich Howe, and Kyle Perkins. And brought to you by DraftKings, part of the Hockey Podcast Network. Before we get to that, we appreciate everyone joining us. The first episode in the offseason. We are not reacting to the offseason is here, gentlemen. Yeah, let's buckle in here. All right, before we get to that, we have a lot more to get into here. We appreciate you joining us. First of all, DraftKings has a great offer. Hockey fans, the pursuit for the Stanley Cup is on, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, has an unbelievable offer for the most exciting playoffs in all sports. I totally agree with that. It really is, like, especially these playoffs, gentlemen. We're going to talk about some of the top takeaways from the first round. Tonight is the first night of the second round. We're watching the Tampa Bay Lightning play the Florida Panthers tonight. We're going to talk about the Toronto. We're going to talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs completely messing up again in the first round. I'm trying to keep that PG the way I say that, but just keeping it PG. The Toronto Maple Leafs they pooped the bed. We'll say that.
The Amber herded the bed. Yep.
Yeah. But oh, really? Why is Kyle Perkins disappearing?
Oh no. I had to
good.
after what Rich said.
That was funny though.
I needed a moment.
There you go.
All right. So yeah, new customers, all you gotta do is bet $5 on any team in these playoffs right now to win and get $100 in free bets no matter what, win or lose. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet $5 on any NHL team to win and get $100 in free bets no matter what. That's code THPN at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details on responsible gambling practices, and if you need gambling help, please see our show notes for that. You can create your own parlay by combining multiple bets like which team will win, how many goals will be scored, and more. It's your shot at an even bigger payout. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash wherever you want, which I had a little bit of a losing streak. I'm not going to lie.
Yep.
I bet the last two games of the Preds series on the Preds on the money line, and they let me down. So,
how'd you do that?
Mr. David Poyle owes me a little bit of money. He owes me $40, $20 a piece on each of those money line bets. Yeah, he owes me $40. I expect that in the mail any day now. I also bet on the Dallas Stars to beat the Calgary Flames on the money line, and the Flames completely. Let's actually go back and look, Rich, at our first round predictions. Are you ready for that?
All right.
Let's see how we did. I'm pulling them up now.
Just enjoy your DraftKings. Kyle and I are unable to use the sports book yet because of our state, but we are eligible to use the DraftKings Fantasy, which is fun as well. So hopefully our state will get with it.
The daily fantasy is actually more fun. All right, let's go back and look at our first round predictions. Let's first look at the Tampa Bay Lightning Toronto Maple Leaf series. I had Tampa in 7. Rich had Toronto in 7. Who won that series, gentlemen? I don't know. And how many games did it go?
They're cheaters.
Did I pick that perfect, though? Did I pick that perfect?
You did.
All right.
Good job.
All right.
Bully to you, sir.
That was a fun series, though, guys. Just admit, that was a fun series. Whether you hate the teams or not, that was appointment viewing.
It was great. I mean, I didn't like the outcome.
How about that game 6 where Toronto was winning? And you saw the 5-on-3 controversial penalty. Kyle's rolling his eyes. Kyle, give me your thoughts on this. What do you think about that when Tampa went on the 5-on-3 and Kucherov scored and tied the game?
It was a bit soft.
Okay. The high stick? They call it a high stick?
Super soft.
Yeah. There's been a lot of super soft calls in these playoffs.
Yeah.
But got my good friend Matt Best. I've made that boy feel so awful, and I should probably feel a little worse about it. But the poor Leafs fans. I don't know if y'all saw the GIF where the guy is out on the big plaza where all the Leafs fans are watching the game. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And he's standing there and he's in a Stamkos jersey.
He pulls it off.
And he's like pulling it off and he's like trying to stuff it in his pocket.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh my God, this guy is going to get murdered.
I respect him for being out there in the first place.
Yep.
The cojones on that guy.
Yeah, I respect it.
Yeah.
God, think about the Toronto Maple Leafs. They haven't won a first-round series since 2004. I mean, it could be so much worse, Preds fans. It could be so much worse.
And you
Yeah.
could be doing that and
proud
have
franchise.
Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner and all those guys on your team.
Yeah. And from the sounds of it, from the things that I saw on Twitter today, they're not going to make too many adjustments in the offseason either. It sounds like they're going to roll it again. They think they're close.
But talk about a really tough first-round draw for if you're a Toronto Maple Leafs fan. Oh, we get the two-time Stanley Cup champs in the first round. So that was a tough series. It was an entertaining series for me to watch. I'll tell you that right now. But I hate it for Leafs fans. I really do. Like, it's tough. Let's go to this next series, Eastern Conference series. That was the Rangers-Penguins series. I got to tell a story. So I was out watching the clinching game of that series. And this is a true story. Sitting down by myself, watching this game, having a little dinner, and look over to my left. And for some reason, I didn't pay attention to this guy's jersey. He was reacting to the game, Rangers-Penguins. He was reacting to the game, and I just assumed that he was cheering for the Rangers. I don't know why, but I did. And I look at him, and I go, God, I'm right there with you, man. I hate the freaking Penguins so much. I just want to see them go away. And he lifts up his jersey, and it was like an alternate jersey, like a jersey they don't normally wear. It isn't a normal Penguins jersey. It was like a customizable jersey or something. Yeah, and he like lifts up the Penguins logo and he points it at me and he starts laughing. And I go, and I start laughing. I look at him and I go, oh, you're a Penguins fan. Well, I still mean it. I hate the Penguins. He starts laughing and we talk. We have a good talk about the 2017 Cup against the Preds. He's telling me, oh, man, I was worried about the Preds. I thought they were going to beat us. We had a really good conversation, but we watched the rest of that game together or whatever. And I guess the point is I've met a lot of different fans of different teams through these playoffs, just seriously since these playoffs started. I work with a St. Louis Blues fan who's a coworker of mine. And so me and him have talked hockey. Like it's just really awesome when you talk hockey with other fans, even if they're a rival team. And when you're in the playoffs, like, I mean, it really does mean more. Like, it's such a big deal. So talking to this Penguins fan was a lot of fun, even though I was very happy to see the Penguins lose. But I was a little bit wrong. I had Rangers in 6. Rich hit it perfect. Rich had Rangers in 7.
Called
ding,
it.
Ding, ding.
Nailed it. Yeah. That was a good series as well.
And Rich, go ahead and be honest right now. It went exactly how you predicted. The Rangers were going to be down 3-1, and they were going to come back and win it.
Obviously,
that's how you predicted.
Of course, it was.
All right.
Yeah, it was good to see. I was glad to see them pull it out. A lot of things up in the air in Pittsburgh now, which is kind of things might be changing soon for that team. So
one of the big things about that series was Crosby taking that hit.
Oh yeah.
Did you guys think that was a pretty dirty hit? Let's be honest.
It was, but man, you gotta when you play the way he does, and you do the thing he does, you gotta expect it. Sometimes you dish it out, you got to be able to take it. That's what I meant to say.
I like it. I agree.
Talking about Shesterkin, it reminds me of Dumb and Dumber. Whenever he says, just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber, you go and do something like this and totally redeem yourself.
Yeah, he did. He did.
Because he did the little thing early in the series where he's waving bye to the Penguins fans as he's coming off the ice.
Yeah.
And then he gets absolutely shelled for like 3 games.
Yeah, don't do that. Bad.
But good prediction by you, Rich. Rangers in 7. You called that. You hit that perfect.
Thank you.
All right. Let's go to the Panthers Capitals series. Speaking of perfect,
yeah,
I had Panthers in 7.
Yeah,
Rich had Panthers in 6. So we both did pretty well in that prediction. We both gave the Capitals We both gave the Capitals credit, though. We thought the Capitals would push the Panthers, and we were right on that. That was another fun series. All right. Here's where I was completely wrong, and I totally underestimated your Boston Bruins, Rich. I'm so sorry for that. Please forgive me. I said Carolina Hurricanes in 5. I gave no respect whatsoever to the Boston Bruins, and they proved me wrong.
Yeah, they came back, man. Forced that
Canes
game
1-7. Canes 1-7, but I thought the Canes would have made easy work of the Bruins, and they did not do that. So I was totally wrong on that one.
They did a few games.
You had Bruins in 7, though, right, Rich?
I did, yeah. Unfortunately, I don't know if
Let's
that was
talk
just
about
thinking or.
Let's talk about another perfect prediction that both me and Rich had, and we both nailed this one. Blues in 6. Let's give ourselves a golf clap for that one. Anyone going to golf clap with me? No one? All right, there we go. Golf clap. Blues in 6. What did you guys think about that series? Kyle, what did you think about the Blues and the Wild series? Because I feel like Central Division team, the Preds played both those teams plenty of times this past regular season. The Preds dominated the Wild in the regular season.
Or did they?
They showed they could play with the Blues a couple games. What did you think about that series, Kyle?
Blues bullied them. Pure and simple. The Blues, they came in and they straight up bullied the Minnesota Wild. It looks kind of like they're doing it to the Avalanche at the moment as well.
Do you think that the Wild were not as good as everybody thought they were?
I think the Wild were flashier, and a whole lot less substance.
There you go. That's a very good way to put it.
What is it? Was saying go all hat, no cattle.
There you
go. They looked really good. They looked even better on paper.
Yeah.
Well, people forget about the St. Louis Blues, and this is kind of why I picked them in 6, is how deep they are. I mean, their top 3 lines are they're ridiculous. Their top 3 forward lines are just stupid. Like, they're right up there with any other Stanley Cup contender as far as their top 3 forward lines. The big question with the Blues is it's their goaltending. Is Jordan Bennington ready to take that next step as a Stanley Cup goaltender?
Right.
That's kind of a big conundrum. But if they even get above average goaltender, just give me B+ goaltending. You don't have to be like elite. Then the Blues can win a Stanley Cup this year. They can steal a Stanley Cup. They could. They could.
Don't say it.
But
don't say the words.
I still think the Avs are going to knock them out. I do. Even though, despite what's happening tonight, let's see, it's 1-1 right now in the second period.
Yeah, scored. It was 1-0. Wow.
It's 1-1. Yeah, Avs just scored. So
Bennington let a rebound come out, and Nichushkin just buried it.
Yeah.
Man.
So I still think the Avs are going to take them out in 6. That's just my prediction. But let's go through our first round. Let's finish our first round predictions because I think overall we did pretty good on these. Our next prediction was Oilers versus. So we had So I took Oilers in 7 versus the Kings. I thought the Kings were going to push them. I had total. I really respected the Kings. I've respected the Kings all season. Go back and listen to early season episodes. I knew that the Kings were one of those young teams that would push to make the playoffs maybe. They've been building their team, much like we want the Predators to do, honestly. The same way. And they proved it this year. I mean, if you're a Kings fan right now, you are leaving this season feeling very confident and very uplifted about the future of your team because they pushed the Oilers to 7 games. They could have won that series very easily, and they ran out of superstars is what they ran out of. They ran into an Oilers team that has more superstars than them. And so I originally took 7, so you had Oilers in 5. You had no respect for the Kings, Rich.
I just thought for sure that the Oilers were just going to come in and decimate them, but I was wrong. I thought losing first round last year, they just come in and just take no prisoners, but wrong.
Here's where I'm wrong. I took, and Lindsay's going to be totally happy about this. She's listening right now. I took the Dallas Stars in 6 over the Flames, and that was a swing and a miss for me. The Flames proved to me that they're for real, and that was such a defensive series, guys. I mean,
yeah, for sure.
Oh my gosh, that series was, and we didn't get to watch all those games because we were too busy watching the Preds because they were kind of going simultaneously.
Yep.
But watching that Game 7, did you guys watch Game 7? Flames
I did
and
not get to watch it,
Stars.
Oh, I followed along, but I couldn't watch it.
Oh my gosh! So I watched that game, and it was you're talking about two teams that just would not give up an inch of ice.
Yep.
And then you're watching two goaltenders, both Markstrom and Ottinger, just trade saves, great saves.
That's what Lindsay said. She said that Ottinger gave her nightmares. Man, that dude's a real deal. I really like him a lot.
So have you seen his mask where he has the little otter wearing a cowboy hat on the side of it?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's so awesome. Yeah, they have
I'm telling you,
can get a Stars shirt that has a little otter on it, and he's wearing like a little Stars jersey.
That's pretty good.
Pretty cool.
Without Ottinger, I'm telling you guys, without Ottinger in that series, I'm telling you right now, the Stars probably get swept or they lose in 5. The Flames completely dominated that series. They dominated Game 7. That Game 7, at one point, the Flames were leading in shot attempts 100-39. We're not talking shots on goal, just shot attempts.
Yeah. That's a lot.
I mean, the Stars were literally just living on borrowed time and just hoping that Ottinger would just carry them. Tell me where you've heard that before as a Preds fan. We saw it in Game 2 with Connor Ingram. So I totally feel the pain of Stars fans right now because we know how it feels as Preds fans to see your goaltender lay everything on the line and just not get any goal support.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what happened in that Game 7 there for the Stars. I mean,
yeah. Did you see what Calgary's goaltender told Ottinger when they went through the handshake line? He said,
I did not see that.
He said, "Keep going. You're the future." I would agree with that. Dude,
only a little bit more colorfully.
It was a little more colorful, but I don't use that language.
Well, I'm actually getting chills down my spine right now. So watching that game at the end, just being a competitor and I play competitive sports and stuff. I thought it was so amazing and so cool that when the Flames scored that goal, you can dislike the Stars all you want as a Preds fan, but I saw all of his teammates immediately skate right to Ottinger. I think Jamie Benn was the first one to skate to Otti and basically just grab his head and grab his neck and kind of give him like a almost a hug basically. And I mean, it was just like that's the kind of stuff that really matters, like when you see, because they knew that the only reason they made it that far was because of him. So
sure.
And as Preds fans, we know how that feels.
Yeah. We travel the same a parallel existence with Dallas, it feels like sometimes.
Rich, you had Flames in 5, so you thought it would be an easy series for the Flames.
Flames
we were both
both
wrong on that series.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought.
And then let's go to our Preds Avs series prediction.
How generous of us, right?
We both gave the Preds a game. We said the Avs in 5.
Oh my gosh. Oh, they almost got one though. They almost got that one.
They did.
That OT
we weren't
loss,
that
man.
far off. We weren't that far off. All right.
Oh gosh, man.
We said Avs in 5. It was Avs in 4. All right. I think we did pretty good in our first round predictions, though. Overall.
Yeah. I had a miss on the Toronto, and you had one on Dallas.
All things considered, I think we did pretty good.
I missed Boston too. But it was fun. Fun times.
Let's start talking about these 2022 these all season free agents here and who we think shouldn't be back next season. Let's first talk about some players that realistically we think shouldn't be back. Let's bring up Nick Cousins first, who's a free agent, who everyone seems to think that for sure he's not going to be back. What do you think, Kyle? Do you think that Nick Cousins still has a place on this team, or do you think he's probably coming back?
I do not think he has a place left, and it's probably not any fault of his. He's played the game they brought him here to play, but you can pay your guys coming up from Milwaukee less money to do the same exact job and maybe outproduce him. So I'd say he's gone.
I agree with that.
I agree with that as well. I think he his contract was I got the old Preds contract thing pulled up, was $1.5 million. I just don't, like you said, I think you could get somebody else cheaper from Milwaukee for sure to do a better equal or better job.
Well, the thing about Nick Cousins is he's totally a role player. He's a veteran role player, but he is what he is. Like, I mean, he's not going to. I think Nick Cousins would find a good place for a team that needs like a role player or needs a veteran. But for a team like the Preds, who are looking to get younger and they're looking to let their youth flourish,
for sure.
All Cousins is really doing is taking up space. And I know that sounds bad and that sounds negative, but that's just really what it is. I mean, he's really taking up space at this point. I mean, he's not doing anything that's going to get you closer to a Stanley Cup right now. So might as well, like Rich just said, save a little money, bring up someone younger who can do the same thing and maybe bring you more. I'm thinking Cody Glass. Swap out Nick Cousins for Cody Glass. What do you think about that, Kyle? Because I know you follow Cody Glass a lot. What do you think about a Nick Cousins, Cody Glass swap going into next season?
I think it's a very good idea. Cody has looked very NHL ready throughout this whole AHL season that he's played down there. Kid's been doing a little bit of everything, a little bit of PK, a little bit of power play. You don't get that many dimensions out of Cousin for one, and then just how well he's held up over the course of the season.
For sure.
Yep. I agree with that.
Yep. Glass is actually
well, I mean, it's just like Cousins has never really been a big goal scorer for this team, and that's what you need right now. I mean, how many more players can you add to this team that are bruisers, quote unquote, or they're physical, or they'll hit you hard and they'll stick up for your teammates? That's all well and good, but like you got to mix in some guys who can actually score, actually put the puck in the back of the net. And Nick Cousins did not do that enough in this time here. Speaking of which, let's go to our next guy. One that, I mean, I'm sorry, but a lot of people that he was on their shit list. Let's be honest. Luke Cunnin. Luke Cunnin is a restricted free agent this year. Cap hit of $2.3 million this past year. Came over in the Nick Bonino trade, as we know. At the time, I remember liking the trade. I'll be honest. Like at the time, I'm like, oh yeah, let's swap old for young. Let's swap old for young. Let's get a younger player who still has his future ahead of him. I was hoping with Luke Cunnin that he was going to just bring more offense to this lineup as a younger player, and he just doesn't do it. And he also draws a lot of bad penalties, and he has no business being in the top six.
No, he does not. I know that Hines kept moving him around, but to try to get to get him going, but it just did not work out. I had high hopes as well, but it's not going to hurt my feelings if he doesn't come back for sure.
I mean, he's an NHL player. Like, I'm not trying to say he doesn't belong in the league. Like, but I don't think he doesn't fit on this team the way that he was used this past season is my point. Like, if you can find a spot for him in the bottom 6, I don't know, maybe you can figure it out. I would expect him to probably be on this team next season in some shape or fashion. But the fact that a top 6 forward was 3rd on your team in penalty minutes and he didn't contribute hardly any offense is a bad sign. I'm sorry.
For sure. I agree 100%.
It's one thing for a player like Tanner Jeannot to commit a lot of penalty minutes because that's his style. That's how he plays. And Tanner Jeannot also brings a lot of value that Luke Cunnin did not bring. So I don't compare the two. Mark Borowiecki, was also ahead of Cunnin on penalty minutes, the other player. Well, it's Mark Borowiecki. Obviously, we know what he's out there for.
Yeah.
So that's you
all
can't compare the two.
For sure. Absolutely.
So I don't know.
Who else forward wise? I think it's anybody else you can think of. I think everybody else is.
Well, coming back to Luke Cunnin real quick, I would if you could figure out a way to move on from him, that opens up the lineup even more. Do you guys think there's a place for Luke Cunnin? Do you guys want to keep him? Do you guys think that we should figure out a way to just move further down the lineup, or do you think that the team should let him pursue other options out there as a restricted free agent?
What do you think, Kyle?
I think don't tender him. There's not really a point in him. You've got so many young, talented guys that could take up that spot. It's not really – the penalties did it for me, and I was really high on him to start the year. It's just it was game after game of bad penalties because of lazy play. And I can take a fighting penalty. I can take a roughing penalty. But these lazy stick fouls, that's a killer to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with it too.
100%. It wouldn't hurt my feelings if he moved on, unfortunately.
All right, let's move on to the defense here. Matt Benning is – I know, Rich, you really like Matt Benning.
I do, but I like
Matt
Jeremy
Benning
Lauzon better.
Yeah, well, the thing about Matt Benning is I think it's going to come down to the front office is going to be like, look, we like you, but there's just not room for you. I mean, sometimes it's a numbers game, and it's not really anything you did wrong in particular, but it's just like there's no room for you.
For sure.
And the Jeremy Lauzon addition at the trade deadline kind of showed that, to be quite honest. If the organization was sold on Matt Benning, then they probably go out and get Jeremy Lauzon.
Yep.
I know that was a very minor deal at the trade deadline, but it did kind of send a message that the front office did not have a ton of confidence in their defensive core behind Mark Borowiecki. Obviously, they still have confidence in Borowiecki because they kept playing him. But Matt Benning was kind of the odd man out after Jeremy Lauzon, and then Jeremy Lauzon got the injury and missed games, so that forced Matt Benning back into the lineup. But if Jeremy Lauzon stays healthy, then we don't see Matt Benning there down the stretch, in my opinion.
I don't think so. I agree 100%.
It's probably
I like Lauzon.
It's probably a pretty safe bet that Matt Benning's not going to be back. I do think Matt Benning has a place on another NHL team somewhere. He's not a scrub. He's a typical, prototypical third pairing defenseman somewhere.
Yep.
I just don't think there's room for him with the Nashville Predators.
Absolutely. 100% agree. I think he's gone. Gone.
So Ben Harper is an unrestricted free agent, gentlemen. You want to bring him back?
I don't want to talk about it. I will be completely so indignant on Twitter that it will just – I'll probably end up with a Twitter vacation for like a week.
Kyle, for the sake of this segment, Ben Harper is an undrafted – or not undrafted – unrestricted free agent this year. He carried a 2021 cap hit of $800,000. Whoa, expensive.
Yeah.
Ben Harper couldn't play in the overage men's league in Saskatoon beer league.
Well, it's funny that you say that, Kyle, because the first sentence I wrote in my Predlines article covering this exact topic was, it wouldn't surprise me at all if the Predators re-sign Ben Harper on the cheap once again and keep him primarily in the AHL with the Milwaukee Admirals.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with him being on the ads, even though he's not terribly great in the AHL either. But
It's so funny.
I mean, how many teams are really going to want him? So it seems kind of realistic that David Poile is like, you know what? We'll throw you another contract. He can stay in the minor leagues. I don't know.
Ben Harper's like, yeah, I got them pictures, that dirt on you, Poile. You better give me another contract.
Hey, he can keep banking $800,000 checks. Where do I sign up?
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. He's like, I don't want to get paid $1 million. You got to keep it, make it look like it's, legit.
We'll say, here's the thing. His playing time really did decrease this past season. Like, he didn't play that much for the Preds this season. Like, so they did kind of start seeing like, okay, let's like not play him that much. Like,
for sure.
I mean, he wasn't on the NHL level that much this season. And the Jeremy Lazan addition kind of put that to rest, thankfully.
Yeah, finally. Thank goodness. So that leaves one more unrestricted free agent.
Yeah, let's get to David Riddick here. David Riddick, I know Lindsay, I'm so sorry. Lindsay's the big Flames fan, and she loves David Riddick. We love David Riddick too because he's a class act. He really is. And I really feel horrible for how game one transpired.
Oh, yeah.
Because honestly, I don't think it was all on him. He ran into a buzzsaw. The team was not ready around him. He let it by a couple really bad goals. And it just like it was a literal avalanche against the Avalanche.
Yes, it was. For sure.
I mean, it was bad. It was really bad. And unfortunately, that's the last time we're going to see Riddick in a Predators uniform.
I think so too. Not only did Connor Ingram come in, he played well. So I think he unfortunately may have stolen David Riddick's job.
I don't think David Riddick had a job here, even if
that's true.
Even if Connor Ingram doesn't play that great in game 2, I still think David Riddick's gone.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Probably.
I think David Riddick's probably going to be a backup somewhere next year. But he was on a 1-year deal anyway. So like for David Riddick, it was kind of unfair for him, and it kind of like was unfortunate for him that he didn't get enough opportunities in Nashville to showcase that he's ready to be a starter somewhere. So now he has to hit the free agency market. And I don't think any teams out there are going to look at David Riddick and think, "Oh yeah, we're going to give him starter money." No, that's not going to happen, unfortunately. No. So he's going to have to be a journeyman goaltender, and he's going to have to find himself a backup role for another team somewhere. They're going to pay him cheap, and he's going to have to hope that someone ahead of him gets hurt, which you never hope for anyone to get injured. Right. But that's what it's going to take for him to. And I think he has it in him. I mean, he shit for the Preds a couple times this season. He did.
Oh yeah, he sure did.
He had some 40+. He had some 40+ save performances. So
he did.
We know he has it in him, but it's just not going to be in Nashville. It's not going to be in Nashville.
Yeah. If he would have gotten some more starts, maybe got to settle in a little more, then maybe you never know what would have happened. But They never intended to start him that much anyway, so a little unfortunate for him.
And the thing about the Predators, just to round this out as far as the free agents and stuff, and talk about the players we just talked about, let's say all those players don't come back. Of course, the elephant in the room is Philip Forsberg, which you've been talking about for months and months now. We still don't really know. We're getting some thoughts about. We've seen some reports out there that he wants to come back. Indications are saying that, but I mean that's all hearsay at this point. I mean that's all just.
Yep.
I mean he's going to say those kind of things. His camp's going to say that. We don't really know. We still do not know what's going on behind closed doors. All I can say is the longer this lingers, the more it tells me they're so far apart that I just don't know how it's going to work. Yeah. But I would love to be proven wrong on that eventually. But I feel like there's too far apart. Yeah. So we'll see. But if he doesn't come back, as catastrophic as that's going to be, if he doesn't come back, the Preds have a boatload of money to spend.
They can go get them Malkin. They can get
no, stop it.
They can get them a Patrice Bergeron. They got enough to get that. Who else?
They're going to have a lot of money. Let's put it that way.
They will have a lot of money. Yeah, and they're definitely going to have to get a high caliber player with that money for sure to replace Forsberg.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Open up the pocketbook, Poyle. You might have to be getting us an elite player, hopefully.
Yeah, because Johnny Gaudreau is going to cost 11.
Yeah.
Well, he's going to have to make a power move for sure. I mean, if he doesn't get Forsberg, even if he resigns Forsberg, he still is going to have money to spend. The Preds have the 9th most cap room per spot track right now in the NHL. So, I mean, they've got money to spend. Like they're in a good spot to be aggressive this offseason if they want to be. But again, everything hinges on Forsberg. So that's really what it comes down to.
I guess we'll find out before Lindsay says Johnny's staying in Calgary. Maybe. Money will make people
all right.
Change their minds pretty easy.
Here's how we're going to round out episode 129. We appreciate everyone joining us. First episode of the off season. Let's give our refreshed top 2 Stanley Cup favorites right now. One from each conference. After watching the first round, let's refresh who we think is going to the Stanley Cup final. Let's go to Kyle first before he dozes off.
They changed my medicine at the doctor, and I am struggling.
It's okay. We're late.
My butt.
We are late.
Hey, we're a late night podcast, and all 3 of us get up early. Kyle gets up earlier than both of us, though.
I guarantee you.
Kyle gets up at Kyle gets up before the birds get up. So
I'll wake them up when I go outside.
Yeah, he's like, get up, roosters. Get up, you roosters.
Yes. But so we're going to go to Kyle first. We're going to go to Kyle first. All right. Western Conference, Eastern Conference. Who are your top 2 Stanley Cup favorites after watching the first round?
You got to go with the Avs. And on the other side, it's a little more difficult because Florida's beatable, Tampa's beatable, Carolina's beatable, and New York's beatable. If I gotta go with Tampa, just because they were able to keep down a really good Leafs team. If Shesterkin isn't perfect all the time, New York's not going to win. I hate Carolina so much that I can't say anything nice about them.
Oh,
did you see? Hey, Kyle. Hey, guys. Did you see so Kane's Twitter, their social media is at it again, trolling people? Did you see that?
I knew they were up to something, but I haven't.
I can't remember exactly what they said.
Oh, I gotta pull it up real quick. I'll pull it up real quick. Hold on.
Yeah.
They're up to their old ways. I'll pull it up real quick. Keep going, Kyle, and I'll pull it up. I'll let you know. But
Canes and Avalanche could be a really good series if they end up playing in the Western Final. You just got to hope that Calgary's defense will hold. I would much rather it be Calgary, but it's looking a lot like the Avs.
Yeah. All right.
I mean, those are the safe ones. for sure. For what I would like to see, I would really like to see out of all in the East, I would like to see the Rangers win. I like Shesterkin a
What do you
lot.
think's going to happen, though, Rich? What do you think?
I mean,
not what you
more than
like to see.
More than likely, it's going to be Lightning Avalanche. As much as I hate to see it,
Ooh,
I'm going to tell you guys something.
That'd be a hell of a Stanley Cup final, though. You have to admit,
and it would be awesome to watch. And obviously, I'm going to watch every bit of it. But last Saturday, when Carolina and Boston was playing and they lost, and then what was the other? Toronto lost. Man, I was like, what a crappy hockey day for me. But it was not good. I was just like bummed out. But safe bets, obviously, Lightning Avalanche. But
I was pulling for Boston. I would love to. That would have been a really good story to see Boston come back and upset the Carolina. All right. My cup, yeah. I want to take Tampa, Colorado too, but that's more for selfish reasons because the entertainment value would be through the roof.
Very much so.
I'm gonna go Colorado in the West. I'm not an idiot. I'm gonna go Colorado as well. I unless I'm just trying to be a hot take for the sake of having a hot take, I'm gonna have to go Colorado as well in the West. But in the East, it's way more up for grabs, like Kyle said as well. I'm going to go New York Rangers. I'm sorry. They were down. They were down. They were beaten for dead. They were left for dead. Everyone was like, they're done. I thought they were done. I was so shocked. I was like, wow. Like, I totally misunderstood this team. They're not ready for this. They were down 3-1. I couldn't believe the Penguins were just knocking them around like they were. And I think the Rangers solved the first round obstacle and they're ready. I think the Rangers are ready. Kyle's right though. Shesterkin has to play better and he has to be that, but he is fully capable. So I think Shesterkin is about to throw the Carolina Hurricanes a wrench in their whole plans and win a couple big games for the Rangers. So I'm going to throw it right now. Rangers, Avs are my new Stanley Cup prediction after watching the first round.
I'd be here for that.
Yeah, I'll take that.
I would much rather see Tampa Avs though, because I think that'd be more entertaining. But we'll see what happens.
Did you all see the go ahead. Finish that and then I'll tell you.
No, go ahead, Rich. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to talk about did you all see the media interview where they interviewed poor David Pastrnak after that?
Dude, that was awful. I felt so bad for Pastrnak.
Dude, I was like, I put something out and I was like, couldn't they just give him a pass and not interview him? Because he just was, I mean, he almost started crying. I felt so bad for him. He had a very rough year. So
didn't his father pass away during the season or something along those lines?
Him and his, I don't know if it's his, I think it's his fiance. They had a baby and the baby passed away like 5 days after it was born.
That's what it was.
They asked him, he's like, they asked him about it. And that was the thing. He was like, they were like, how high was hockey priority in your life? And he's like,
it wasn't
very low. And then, how do you, and then they're like, how did you pull through it? Yeah. And then like, how did you pull through it? And he's like, it was horrible. I felt so bad for him.
Yeah. I don't like that. I don't like to hear that at all.
I didn't like that.
So I just came across that Carolina Hurricanes tweet where they were trolling. They're back to their old ways. Kyle, this is what they did. They basically made a slideshow of all these Bruins fans who tweeted about how they were going to beat the Canes in the first round. And the Carolina Hurricanes official social media account said, wait till the playoffs, right, Bruins fans?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and these people, these screenshots they took were not like verified Twitter accounts. These are like random people. And then they did the two sideways laughing emojis. So Canes Twitter, they're still the same, up to their old ways.
Yeah, they're a piece of work, I'll tell you that. Because you did win the first round, But it took you 7 games, and you almost crapped the bed. So,
Here's my trouble with the Canes. They like to
we don't
play.
have enough time to talk about all that. My troubles.
Mine is very simple.
Yeah.
They like to try to play a dirty, heavy hockey game, kind of along the lines of Calgary, but even more rat-like. But they turtle. Aho and Sveshnikov both do it. They will go out there and they'll spear somebody right in the junk, and then they'll just turtle up and cover up.
Yep.
And I hate it. If you want to do that, be a man and take your whooping.
Yep, for sure. You know who else? Trocheck's
bad about it too.
He's really bad about that exact same thing. I agree
100%. That's why we're all pulling for the Rangers in that series. So we will see how it goes. Thank you, everybody, for listening. This has been episode 129 of Catfish on Ice, the first episode of the offseason. Appreciate you. We will be back next week for a brand new episode as we will get into more offseason topics, more Stanley Cup playoff topic. Thank you so much. This has been your host, Chad Minton, with co-host Rich Howe and Kyle Perkins. Take care, everybody. Take care of each other. Be safe, and we will see you later on next week for a brand new episode.
Have a good one.
See y'all.